today was the grand errand day where we get up the campus and we get to go into town and do the battle with everybody. It's not really a battle. No, it's not a big deal. But today Danielle had PT on her shoulder. She has some kind of a rotator cuff tear just like I do. Probably just like a lot of you other elderly people do. Rotator cuffs are fairly common. Danielle's is probably worse than mine. So she's been going to physical therapy twice a week, and so...
Well, I just started. I got my exercise guide sheet today, so I have to do this series of exercises 3 times a day. It probably takes half an hour. So, even less time to do all the other things that need to get done.
Yeah. We got a nice card from Tennessee. We have 2 friends in Tennessee named Sue. And this
Susan.
Yeah, and so this was from one of them. So thank you very much for that. There was a nice little letter in it. We really enjoyed reading that. So today we thought we would talk about homestead economics. And the problem with this topic is that it's not a one-size-fits-all. Because, I mean, we don't, everybody's going to have a different budget. And so what we might say at one budget may not pertain to somebody who has a larger income than us or a lower income than us. So we just want to mention some basic guidelines and things. And notice that I said homestead economics because I'm not really sure what a homesteader is. But I think that part of the idea when you homestead is that you want to be somewhat frugal and you want to be somewhat of a minimalist.
And you want to be independent. You want to do most things for yourself as much as possible.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Thank you for that. And so a lot of that has to do with that's why you might have a garden so that you can grow food because that way you don't have to go to the store, and we can't grow olives, so we bought olive oil today, and we don't have a milk cow, so we might have bought some dairy today. Right? You want to be independent of the system, and so one of the principles in that being independent is that I think it's, how can I put it? The Nearings, Scott and Helen, who were 2 of the pioneers of the modern homestead movement.
Back to the land.
Back to the land, that's right. Modern. They used to always say, Scott used to always say, pay as you go. I saw him on YouTube give a speech or a lecture to some young people, and he told them very sternly, pay as you go. And then he broke out into that great smile of his. Remember that video?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, what is that?
The one that they show
She's knitting
at their house?
No, I think he went to an event and there were a lot of students or something.
No, but I mean they show the video from his life and her life.
Yes, yeah, that one.
At their home, which is a tourist attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So pay as you go. I was thinking of that this morning when I was lighting the wood stove fire because we use newspaper, crumple up a few sheets, and one of them had an ad from the local bank, and it was from back before Christmas, and it was saying that you can take out a Christmas loan for Christmas shopping. You can borrow up to $3,000 for doing Christmas shopping. And so the idea behind Scott's theory is that instead of taking out a loan to do your Christmas shopping, you would pay as you go. So the idea there is to stay out of debt. And if you want something, you pay as you go.
You can set up your own personal Christmas fund.
Yep. Danielle and I call it being your own central bank.
Right.
So each of us have just a little savings, you could call it. But I don't keep savings at the physical bank downtown. I mean, I have just enough in the bank to pay my monthly bills and maybe a little bit of a buffer. The rest of the money goes into my own central bank, if you will. I could talk more about that maybe in another time, but so that if I needs a large ticket item, I could just go to my own personal central bank and borrow. I say to Danielle, I got to borrow money from myself.
Right.
And that's exactly what I'm doing. And so I don't have a credit card, neither does Danielle. I got rid of my credit card. And okay, so maybe some of you will be thinking, well, good for you, but...
Well, it's a debit card.
No, but back in the old days, I had a credit card, and I got into trouble with I'll be very honest with you, I got into trouble with my credit card. I got behind. I was working, I did not have the financial principles that I have now, and I abused the credit card and got way behind. And luckily, when I sold my house in upstate New York, I was able to take some of the equity and pay off, oh my goodness, I think that balance got up to, $3,000. Crazy. And so I paid that balance off, and never again since 2003 or 2002, somewhere in there, have I had not only a credit card, but I have not had debt since 2000. I paid off my mortgage, no car payment, no credit card, no personal loan, no things like that. So getting back to what the Nearing said, it is pay as you go. Right?
That's what my grandmother did.
Yeah.
And my parents, if there was something that they knew they would like to add to the house, and they would just set money aside and just be extra careful what they were spending money on, and they had their own little special account, and they were so joyful when they were able to make the purchase. And this happened a lot in the old days. I'm saying the 1930s and 40s. It was not uncommon for a young couple to borrow from relatives to put a down payment on a house, and then they would pay their relatives as they went along, and also be able to pay their mortgage payment. And I remember my mother always told the story, they borrowed from my grandmother. She was frugal, oh my gosh. And so they had their little calendar, and they said, we're going to pay this off in 2 years, this house. And of course, in 1939, you could get a pretty nice Victorian house that needed a lot of work for maybe $7,000. So that was, the whole balance was so different then. It's much harder now. I realize that. And, people who are still alive from that time and went through that realize what they had, and they say, I was so lucky to be living then.
Yeah. I paid my house, I bought my house in upstate New York in 1991. It was $65,000. And then when I sold it in 2003, I sold it for $75,000. And today that would be, and it was not a bad, it was a Queen and Victorian house. It needed a little bit of work, but it was quite livable. It was very comfortable. And so you don't see that anymore. So the next topic you thought of, prioritize purchases. What is the most important?
Yeah, we talked about that this morning. There's a saying, the words flow more easily, food, clothing, and shelter. But then we realize really it's food first, and then shelter. You have to have shelter. And then the clothing is sort of the icing on the cake. You can be extremely frugal with clothing. You might create for
Like
yourself 2 outfits, and that's what you wear.
That's it.
One you wear while the other one's getting washed and dried, and you switch back and forth. And when I was young, I went to school that had uniforms, which was great. It was a big help to families because you didn't have to buy a lot of clothing. And you didn't have to spend time worrying, oh, what am I going to put together? Is it going to look good? Is it going to be acceptable? Anyway, I never missed not being able to wear my own individual clothing that no one else had. And, I had clothing for special occasions. But I laugh to think my closet, when I was 12 years old even, I remember that closet because it had a diamond-shaped, like stained glass blocks in it. It was so pretty, but I had very little in it. And I had my uniform, and then 2 dressy Sunday and, family event outfit, and, shoes for that. And then play clothes, what was that? I came home, took off my uniform, and polished my shoes for the next day. That was the daily ritual. And then I would, put on something more relaxed, like pants and a sweater. But that was about it. It was nothing fancy. And plus, the rest of the day was spent doing homework and preparing for the next day. So we didn't have as many clothes as we do now.
Although I'm probably a little bit on the extreme end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I have what I call my campus outfit, or the clothing that I wear here at the house and the garden. And because of the way we live with a wood stove, and the wood stove is filthy, and hauling firewood, and then during the summertime we're gardening and we're in the dirt, and it's just there is no real reason to wear nicer clothing here around the house. I mean, sometimes I look at myself and I say, oh my goodness, it's just, but if you were to wear your nicer clothing, you would ruin them in no time, which is why I wear an apron. Danielle taught me about the apron. The apron really saves your clothing quite a bit. But I wear pretty much the same petticoat day in, day out, as you've probably noticed. But then when we leave the house to do our weekly errands, I have different clothing for that. I have a nicer petticoat and a nicer jacket and so forth and so on. But so we do prioritize purchases, food, shelter, and clothing. That's right. And so, and then anything above and beyond that may be, and again, this depends on your income and your budget. But again, this is homesteading economics. So part of homesteading is to be frugal and to be minimal. And we just can't stress that enough.
But it's not like something it's a punishment and it's terrible. And
I think it's a challenge. I enjoy it.
Hard times. Hard times, there's nothing unusual about hard times. But it's, an attitude. If you have a challenge, it's sometimes, it's as difficult as it is, it's also, it makes you more creative. You have to figure out ways that you can make things work. And if food is your priority, that's why we garden. We really don't trust a lot of what's in the supermarket. If you read the labels, if you have the time, you'd be appalled. So straight from the ground into your kitchen is about the ideal. And, you're careful, you're not spraying things, you're looking and make sure nobody else is spraying anything over your homestead. But on their neighboring crops. Luckily, we don't have that right here. But that's a way to live. And you find joy in being creative, in seeing the beauty of what food you raise and how you prepare it. And you find such satisfaction in if you can make a garment that you can wear. It's brought me a lot of joy, and other people that we compare notes with, they'll say, yeah, and there are some tough things too. Being a homesteader, you tend to not have a very constant or wide social life because you're spending a lot of time working and keeping up the homestead.
We tend to have other people who are like us as friends.
Yeah, and even then, you need to make time.
You're busy.
And remember, it's important to make time for your friends also. But it takes care.
Yeah. So, also, we believe in not buying what I call stupid stuff. Now, everybody, this is going to be a touchy subject, and a lot of what to me is stupid, it won't be to the next person. And so, in the comment section, don't beat me up too much about this, but in our opinion, things like toys, like in the culture that we live in and the society, which is up here in Maine. Now, I'm going to make some enemies probably with this, but I think I can speak for Danielle too. We think it's kind of a folly to go into debt to buy a big toy. Now, I'm talking about like a motorboat, or one of those four-wheelers, or a motorcycle, or a snowmobile, or things like that. To me, those are toys. And yes, they can be handy around if you have a big farm. Having a four-wheeler can be a handy way to get down to the other end of the 40 acres. So that's not necessarily a toy. I think you know what I mean. We spent a lot of money on the BCS rototiller, and it cost almost as much as some of the four-wheelers, some of the smaller four-wheelers. We could have gotten just a Troy-built rototiller, but we went with a very much top-of-the-line rototiller because we take the gardening that seriously. And it's a very heavy-duty machine, and we've used it to rototill other people's gardens or some of our neighbors, and so that's very nice. So we don't think it's very wise to buy toys just to play with the toys. And a lot of people just feel as though, remember our friend Nate, who used to be a policeman?
Yeah.
We were talking about this with him. And he says, oh, but I got to have my motorcycle. So I mean, everybody has their weakness.
But he was real young.
He was really young, yeah.
He made use of that motorcycle.
He did, and you could use it for transportation, too.
Sure.
But my weakness is potato chips, but that's another story. So we just kind of think that buying stupid stuff is not, if you're trying to be frugal and minimalistic. Now, if you're not trying to be frugal, then yeah, go by all means, go ahead and buy anything you want, go into as much debt as you want. But if you're trying to be minimal and frugal, then we recommend trying to stay away from those things. And we also think that things like televisions and cable TV and even Netflix, I've heard that Netflix can be pretty expensive. And I don't know. Now, some people, if they're not homesteading and they live in town, they might, and all they have is their apartment to go home to, and then they're just going to chill out for the evening, then I guess Netflix probably makes sense for them. But for us, there's so much that is free if you want to watch something free on YouTube. There are a lot of great documentaries. We've been watching a series by a YouTube channel called Medieval Way, and that's been pretty interesting. So we usually watch stuff about history or economics when we watch YouTube. But there's so much
music.
Music, what, watching or playing?
Well, you're talking about watching a screen, so I'm thinking we've seen lots of things to do with music, master classes or...
Oh yeah. Well, lots of times Danielle and I are sitting in these very chairs with this very light, and we're sewing. or some such. And so we like to have a YouTube video going. It might be, we might be listening to a music performance, or we might be listening to somebody talk about history or economics. And so we will do that, but I don't know. We also believe that, I know back when I was in the workforce, I used to take my lunch to work, and on Sundays I would make a big pot of soup for the whole week. And during the summertime I would make a lunch out of yogurt and fruit, a little honey on top, some raisins. That was my lunch. And that lunch cost a fraction of what people, it seems as though a lot of people are going out for lunch every day, or many days. And even a lot of people are going through the drive-throughs on the way to work for that coffee and that whatever it is that they get. They just don't have time. They're getting up in the morning, they're getting the kids ready to go to school. And I know because we're older and our kids are grown up and everything, it's just the two of us. I know it's a different world than a lot of you people. But I also know that a lot of you people are about our age also. And so maybe you're not working like us. But I know that back when I was in the workforce, I used to take my lunch to work most of the time. Yes? Anything on that?
Well, I'm thinking even, younger people make their lunch, the night before the work day. Or the family will get together and, okay, we're making sandwiches. Mm-hmm. So, you can make it something fun. If your homework is done, of course. But making your own food to take on a little road trip or going to work.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm always shocked to hear, my gosh, if coffee costs $4 and you're doing that that's $20 a week.
Oh, I know.
Wow.
Remember when we would go back and forth to New Jersey to visit family, we used to about halfway down stop, have us stop at a restaurant, for our meal halfway down. And then we got to thinking, oh my goodness, this is like $40, $50. That's a lot of money, $50. And also the time involved. We would lose an hour on our trip, right?
Yeah. That didn't happen terribly often. I remember packing a basket with cheese and bread and sausages
Snacks.
From our friends.
Yep.
And I'd have the, towels and a knife and peeling oranges. And I'd be making lunch on a little wooden tray on my lap as we were traveling down the road. Yeah. And that was kind of fun. And it did save a lot of time. And it saved even more money. Yeah.
So we rarely go out to restaurants anymore. But there are other reasons for that, which we don't know if we have time to talk about that today.
Nah.
So going on to the next bullet point, keep cash on hand, always pay with cash. And I don't know if you folks know it or not, but there is a movement within our government and other governments, especially the UK, but also our government, to get rid of cash. And once that happens, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, because they're going to be able to dictate what you can and can't buy. And it's really going to be a mess. So anyway, I don't want to go down, that'd be another topic for another day, except to say that we have made it a policy to use only cash when we go out, and we try to anticipate what we might be purchasing, and we go to the ATM, take out cash, and like today, and that's how we pay for our purchases throughout the day.
That topic doesn't have to be sinister.
Oh no!
You can keep cash. It's a good idea to keep a bunch of cash hidden in your house, because as we have seen, the lights can go out, the electricity's out, the machines don't work, you can't use the ATM, and then what? We know when those wildfires were happening, the floods in North Carolina, people were in a lot of trouble, and anyone who did keep, a cash box at least had a chance. And a lot of stories we hear, they even, help their neighbors who maybe did not have so much on hand.
I have to check the fire.
Okay.
Keep talking, okay?
Well, that's what I'm remembering.
Okay.
The ATM machines are sometimes down, sometimes because of a power outage, and sometimes because the bank doesn't have enough physical cash on hand because too many people took their money out and they have to wait till the next day.
So, so Danielle was just talking about, I heard her. We heard from our friends in North Carolina that when the power was out, $1 bills and $5 bills were in such high demand. And there were some stores that were open, but they could only take cash. In fact, we have a feed store in town. 3 weeks in a row it says cash only. So if cash goes away, that feed store would have to close down. They have some kind of a problem with their online payment system. And been many times when the power goes out, and they were just so happy to get cash from us. And so that was that. So the other thing was, we're a firm believer from an economic standpoint, other than the quality of food that you make yourself, but from an economic point of view, it's a good idea to get into the habit of cooking your own meals, your own food, as much from scratch as possible. It's way cheaper. It's way better too, but it's way cheaper to cook from scratch. So much cheaper. And I mean, you don't even have to have a garden to just you buy some quality ingredients, maybe at a farmer's market, or maybe from a what do you call those things?
CSA?
CSA. You might be involved with a CSA, or if you have a good organic section of your supermarket, get the ingredients. And so if you can do that and make your own meals, and that's why we do a lot of cooking videos. We are trying to show people how they can cook from scratch and how really easy. I mean, if I can figure it out. I mean, Danielle is the head cook around here. I just do a lot for the videos, but we both enjoy it. And we spend a lot of time cooking. And it's, first of all, it's kind of enjoyable. I know if you're working and you get home from work, and the last thing you want to do is, oh, now I gotta cook the way Danielle and Stephanie do. I don't have the time or the energy. I know, it's hard. I used to, when I was in the workforce, I know exactly what we're talking about. Or if you live alone, it's difficult to make some of these beautiful meals that we make sometimes. It's just difficult to do that for yourself. My grandmother gave me a bit of advice. She knew that I was living by myself, and she said, make yourself one good meal a week, and I did that on Sunday. A wonderful meal. And so that's what I would do. The rest of the time would be just, get something and like maybe make grilled cheese or something, But on that Sunday, I would make a nice meal. So that's about all that I have. You have any closing comments?
With the food, if you are growing a garden, what you do, decide which vegetables you really will eat, that you really like, and collect some recipes so that you're growing these things. You have a ring binder with recipes for each of those foods or combinations of them. And that takes the stress out because okay, I know I have, celery, celeriac, and kale and cabbage, and here's a recipe for a great soup, and you're ready to go. And you can, be very simple, especially if you have a busy work schedule outside the home. If you have a plan, then, it takes the stress off. And it just makes it a lot easier. And you can simplify it. Just pick 3 things. I mean, that's not too much. you have what, your favorite soups, I have mine. Soups can be absolutely life-sustaining and absolutely as good as fancy, more conventional,
They're inexpensive.
different entrees and things. But a soup and a stew, you can live so well.
And like your friend Terry Wu does, she would, you can watch your TV show, but she would prepare all her vegetables for her stew or her stir fry.
Yeah.
But when it comes to
She'd chop them up the night before
okay.
and put them in the fridge, and then she'd go to work the next day, but she knew when she got home all she had to do was quickest, the stir fry. Everything is all ready to go in, and it's cooked in a half hour. So it was good.
When it comes to gardening, I like to make these 100-foot long rows of potatoes and carrots and onions and leeks and all these basic ingredients that goes into just about every single soup. Whereas when Danielle is over in the other garden, she likes to make some of the more intricate, or rather grow some of the more intricate vegetables like broccoli, and to me that's intricate, and fennel and different kinds of exotics and things. She likes to make those things for specialty dishes. But I believe in what we call the hard times garden, or depression era gardening, survival gardening, where you grow those survival, or you grow those vegetables that will store really well. And I've made many videos about storing your vegetables in a root cellar, or if you don't have a root cellar, there's other ways you can store vegetables and things to think of. So, yeah, getting back to the topic, cooking your own food from scratch is way, way cheaper and way better. Now, we that rump roast that we bought, it was kind of pricey when we bought it, but we bought it home, and of course we cooked it ourselves, and that we figure that's going to last 5 meals, you think?
At least.
We'll get 5 meals for the two of us. Granted, the thing cost $60, and it was a $60 outlay, but it was 5 meals. So you get down to about $12 a meal for 2 people. 2 people eating for $12. Of course, there's always potatoes and the things that go with it. I made the Yorkshire puddings with that particular roast. And Yorkshire puddings are very cheap to make. Very cheap. And it's...
I was thinking you're saying 5 meals. You don't want to be eating this beef roast every day of the week, so
no.
You can shave away different, a collection, as much for 1 meal, wrap it up, Ziploc, into the freezer, and you put away maybe 3 meals of beef for 3 meals in the freezer, and then it's easy to use it up within a week, have it 3 or 2 times a week. Today we was the first leftover, I suppose, and I really shaved the beef very thin.
You keep talking, I have to check the
bar. Okay. And I put some butter in a skillet and thin sliced onions, threw that in. Next time I'll remember to also add shiitake mushrooms. And so that cooked very slowly while I was slicing the meat, putting it in a little casserole, just keeping it warm at the back of the stove. I didn't want to cook it per se. There was juices that from the roast that I put in with that. Put the lid on it's a ceramic little, I don't know, it's a baking dish. It was a gift, very nice. And so that kept the roast beef warm while I prepared the onions, mushrooms, and the butter. And then I sliced the bread that Stephanie made yesterday, the boule, made slices of those, opened them up. I also grated some cheddar. So then it was time to put it all together. So I put a little mustard down, this is a recipe, and then pieces of the beef that was warm and moist still because it had juice. And then On top of that went the mushrooms and the onions, and then the grated cheese, and it got popped into the oven for what, 10 minutes? And it was a wonderful meal. And then I got out from the refrigerator. I had canned beets and dilly beans last summer and had those on the side, and it was a banquet to me. It was great.
Yeah, so anyway, those are just some random thoughts. We're keeping you way too long, I know. And so we never mean to go off for this long a period of time in a video, but I'm very long-winded, and so that's what happens lots of times. So anyway, let us know what your thoughts are. Maybe you've got some great tips on how we can be frugal, live frugally, live minimally, and ways we can save money. That's all we're trying to do here, is just live. Don't be extravagant when you can be more frugal. And, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I
Good
guess
planning, and you can, I mean, it's not in your head, oh, look at me, I have to be so frugal.
I'm poor.
I mean, that was good food, and really, when you consider it, the price and how many meals you're going to get from that, it turns out to be a lot better than buying prepared food out.
Yeah, absolutely. So
All right.
I guess that'll just about do it from here. And I don't know. I think tomorrow I'm thinking about doing a video on excuse me, 3 sewing stitches, because I'm working on the sewing project, working on a video for this, making the cap, and I want to teach you ahead of time 3 basic stitches that I think you ought to know. And so maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Okay. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Okay, bye.